Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is your Goddess Guru, Tyra Omilade, here to share a word of inspiration with you on your path to self realization and self mastery. Today is October 11th, and I hope that you all are well. I won't be on long this morning just because I have something I'm about to do. Anywho, I just wanted to share something that was really touching me and me listening to Dr. Michael Beckwith this morning, and he talked about how it's real interesting when we are about to have a breakthrough, how we will self sabotage ourselves. And he talked about different things that could sabotage us, such as um, fear and worry. He called those misplaced focus. And it's like when we are headed in the direction that we know we need to go in, that it's going to take us, it's going to help us to level up, as Sierra said. Um, what we'll find, Sierra said, um, what we'll find is things will come into our psyche, situations, all kinds of stuff will come up, and a lot of times it's very internal. And so one of the greatest ways that our ego will make us slip, trip, and fall is through worry of all sorts, is through fear of all sorts, either fear of where we're headed in our own spiritual path or fear of what people will think. Um, Other fears will come up so that we're not even thinking about what we said we were going to do, especially when it comes to all of our daily spiritual practices. So, fear and worry, those are tricks of the ego. Don't slip, trip, and fall. At the very least, use the key to self mastery of awareness to be able to observe yourself, because the ego even sells us a story that says, you know what? This is really what's going on. Your ego will make you think this is really what's happening to you. You think this thing is real when really, no, it's just something the ego has created to like make you stay stuck in your stumble. Um, so you have to use awareness to really observe, wait a minute, is this for real or is this me creating something that's sabotaging myself? He also talked about distractions, how we'll say, I'm going to go meditate, I'm going to go do whatever spiritual work that we said we're going to do, and all of a sudden we're sleepy, or all of a sudden the chair is too hard, there's too much noise. It's all these distractions that make us say, "Oh, forget it. I'm not going to do this thing that I know." And maybe it's not spiritual. Maybe it's something for you to level up in your career or in your relationship, in your money. It's things that you say and you know this is what spirit is calling you to do in whatever aspect of life. And all of a sudden, you're distracted. It's just too much noise. It's too much chatter. It's I got this ache. I got this pain. Let's think about exercise. And, that's something I have to talk to people a lot. As long as whatever exercise you do isn't going to hurt you, don't let your ego make you think, oh, it's like too much pain. Because I tell people all the time, I work out with all kinds of stuff going on because I teach. So I don't really buy the excuse. If it's not going to further injure you, I don't buy that as an excuse. So it's things like that will happen. I have actually seen, as a fitness instructor, people will actually get a real injury whenever they decide they're going to start working out. A real injury will happen. They'll slip and fall, or something to snap. I'm like, oh, you really didn't want to work out. Maybe you should have just gone on ahead and walked away. So it's all kinds of distractions that we have to guard against and be aware of, because the ego is not going to let go that easily. And you have to put the ego in its proper place. The ego doesn't have to be in charge. You, me, we have allowed the ego to run the show. And so we just have to get the ego to realize what its place is. So, we're not doomed to live with all of this. Lastly, he talked about, well, not lastly, but another thing he talked about is when you feel that aversion. And this is something I do this a lot with spiritual practices, people working out, eating right. You just don't feel like it. When it's time to do that thing, you just really and truly feel like, I hate this. I don't want to do it. I'm not in the mood. That's real. That's a real good trick right there. The ego is like, you know what? This one right here is bound and determined. They're actually walking to go do this thing that's gonna make us better. Aversion. Let's make this one feel like I'm gonna gag if I do it. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. I think that's one of the things I've heard Oprah talk about long, long time ago. Because I don't even watch Oprah anymore. Not to say I don't like Oprah. I just don't. I don't even know where her channel is. Nothing. Anyway, she said basically one of the paths to success is doing stuff even when you don't want to do it. I think that was Oprah. Maybe she quoted somebody. And then lastly, especially when it comes to spirituality, but I think in health, in relationships, in our jobs, we can experience what is called the dark night of the soul. And I was thinking as he was talking, one dark night of the soul that I know I've experienced is right after my mother died. That may have been the blackest period I've known in my life thus far. Um, and I just didn't. Every day was black. Every day was black, and I really did have to just make a decision to get up out of there. But one of the things he talks about is how we can begin to remember the light. We have to remember a time when we were better, when we were healthier, and that is what sustains us until we get back to experiencing, you know, the luminosity of the great divine, the luminosity of health and wellness in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits. And if you're one for perhaps who grew up with a lot of abuse and different things like that, the path may be a little different, but I don't know one person because most people have seen the light in something. It could be a pet. That's something I've noticed. Animals, I know people disrespect animals to me. It's just a dog, it's just a cat. And I know cats scare people. I know cats really creep people out or whatever. But I am coming, thanks to astrology, to really understand the power and the healing power of a pet. And sometimes the most abused people in the world, they find complete and utter joy in caring for animals. So it could be that your luminosity is through some pet or some animal, some nature experience, being out gardening. You know, sometimes wounded people do really well with getting out in nature and gardening, getting on the the rivers and the oceans, or maybe the luminosity comes from a deep, deep connection that you feel through your hobbies. We are never without salvation. That is what I love about understanding the greatness of the great divine. This is why I could never, even when I was professing Christianity, I never believed in hell. I just never believed God would be so done with us that we would be sent to hell. There's always salvation. And within my new paradigm of understanding, the only option that the great divine and our higher selves has for us is salvation. This is why the seasons keep going despite how we're destroying Mother Earth. So I just encourage you to really and truly um, pay attention to the tricks of the ego. Don't fall for it. Love y'all. Please like the video, share the video, and if you need divination from me, you can go to my website, goddessbodymindspirit.com, and go to the spiritual readings page.